So, welcome everybody, and welcome to the next in this series of The Power of Us. And as you can see, we're multiplying. I have my beautiful, what started off as event manager and now co-founder of these incredible spaces, stages for us to present wonderful people and their energy and their presence. And we're going to be talking with Adam today about his Get Vocal journey. But before we do, we're just going to find ourselves in the space. And I love to start each of these chats with, an honouring of the voice, because a lot of people don't even know how they produce their sound. They don't even know that they have things called vocal folds in the middle of their throats. And we speak if we're fortunate enough to be able to speak all day long. So just taking a little moment, maybe placing our hands on our throat, or like a memory of a time that you used your voice where you just felt really empowered, or you can do both, like hand on throat, that empowered feeling of when you were really connected with your voice and when it felt really, really good. Yeah, maybe just taking a little swallow, just feeling, you can feel your Adam's apple move up and down. Take a breath through the nose, connect that breath all the way through the body as you exhale. Good, notice just how that makes you feel lighter, and maybe sit up a little bit taller. And I love a little hum, so we're going to do a little if you wish, just to feel the vibration of your voice and this power of the voice, power of your sound, your resonance, your frequency. Yeah, beautiful. And then just coming back into the room, back into the conversation as we start. So as I said, welcome, Adam.
Welcome. Nice to be here.
Yeah, so nice to have you here, and for you stepping up with us on the 22nd as we launch the Power of Us events. So we're going through this interview with 5 questions, and I'm asking the same questions to everybody. So it's your chance to explain your story through the questions, so like from fear to freedom is something that I'm super passionate about, and from that fear and doubt, how we get to this empowered stage of using our voice and sharing our story, and even being on a podcast like this, even if we're scared of talking. So what was the moment or experience that helped you step into your true power, and how did that shift feel on a personal level?
Great question. If I'm honest, there wasn't a single moment. It's been a journey that has been going on for 15 years, and since I sort of had a burnout and woke up subsequently and started to look at myself and ask some deeper questions. And I've had to face fears, doubts, insecurities all along the way. And of course, there have been moments where you step up and you go and do a presentation or a podcast, or you launch a book, or whatever it is for you, sign a new client. And each time you do that, it feels amazing. It feels exhilarating, but it triggers also the next set of fears, doubts, and insecurities. Each step that you take up, each time you speak up louder, each time you put yourself out there more, it's a journey, right? So what I do as a coach is I work on myself, but I also work on my clients to help them build a foundation that they can build something more solid upon. Because if you don't have that foundation, it ain't going to happen, basically, or it will be a real major struggle to make it happen.
Yeah, I was just talking to a friend actually about those collapsing moments, the havoc moments, which I used to have so much, and now my spine and my backbone is so much stronger through as we were chatting a little bit behind the scenes on Instagram about letting go of shame. So I'm kind of intrigued. You said you were digging into some questions at that time when you burnt out. Can you remember?
Yeah. Oh, crystal clear.
Good.
Um, why was I doing what I was doing? I was running a recruitment company. Emily was there working with me, and I was working like a dog. And I was building this business, and we set up another office in Birmingham. We're based in London, and it had to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And what I realized is no matter, and I had lots of ups and downs, but it was never enough. I could never hire enough people. I could never make enough money. I could never get the car that was enough, because deep down I didn't feel enough, and there was a hole in me that needed to be filled. But you can never fill that with anything external. You have to fill it with self-love. And for me, it took me back to my dad, and I eventually realized I didn't feel loved enough by him growing up, and rightly or wrongly, that's how I felt. And so I was on a mission to get his attention, and everything I did for my whole life to that point was based upon getting his attention and love, and going, hey, look at me, you know. So it's quite a journey.
Yeah, so much identification, and I know there's identification for you as well. I won't speak for you, but I love us sitting here in this trio because yeah, so much identification. I'm just intrigued, Emily, to know what your perception was of Adam as he was going through that experience, and what you were seeing of Adam and what Adam meant to you at that point in time.
Yeah, sure. Well, the first thing I'll say in response to what Adam said was I think I was concerned about how much tea Adam was drinking.
We're going to get on so well, Adam.
Honestly, Adam was addicted to cups of tea. That's not the kind of tea, though, that it was.
It's changed. It was black tea. Yeah.
Just your standard builder's tea.
Oh,
and
yes.
yeah, I was thinking he must be so dehydrated because it is a diuretic. But yeah, Adam at the time, I definitely don't feel like I knew Adam at this deep level, but you were such a lovely bloke. I mean, you were really inspirational, and we all held Adam in such high regard and felt extremely blessed to have you as our leader at the time, you know. And I remember Adam was the person who introduced me to NLP back in the day.
Yes.
And I'd never heard of it, and I remember thinking, whoa, it's a bit out there, you know, a bit out there. I mean, what is this? What is this mind, you know, trickery?
Trickery.
But at the same time, I realized that you really wanted us to, all of us within the company, to take responsibility for ourselves, for our actions, for our goals, and even if that meant that, you know, we wouldn't continue working for you in the company. And obviously you sent us, each of us, to that Tony Robbins event, which was life-changing for me. And I remember coming back afterwards and saying, why do you send your staff there? Because we're all going to realize our dreams and leave the company. And you know, but I was so grateful to have gone through that. And it was my introduction, it was my very first introduction to this personal development, which I'm so, you know, into now. And it's moved on from, you know, me calling that personal development to me being on a spiritual journey. And it just, yeah, I just thought that you've always been what I would consider a mentor of mine, and continue to be so to this day. So yeah, I'm very, very pleased that you are part of this with us.
Yeah, it's lovely to hear from that side of the table. I haven't thought about that for a long time, but I mean, that Tony Robbins opened me up, so I guess I wanted to pay that forward.
And that's so beautiful. And as a leader, and you know, I think that's the greatest gift, to be able to to offer to let go and see people on their own journeys, and they're not possessions. And I resonate with that a lot as well in my line of thinking. I'm just, for the viewers, going to let you know that NLP means Neuro-Linguistic Programming. I also trained as a master NLP, and that there's much more now coming out, obviously, in science about the neuroplasticity, and how we even through sound is changing, and altering our neural pathways. So it definitely changed my life as well, and I still use it. I love the language aspect of NLP, because we are always and in all ways so much more than we think, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Adam, I think this is really beautiful to move into this, as Emily was talking about you, and we're going to talk about vulnerability now, and this concept of, in change, when we're in the void, which you were in, like how we've come from fear, and then you have to make these big changes, and we're still in that fear space, and we're feeling very vulnerable. So how did you deal with the vulnerability?
So when I was in my flow and leading the recruitment business, I was like a machine. You could say or do anything to me, nothing would affect me. And it all started to fall away when I went to my first ever healing session, and the lady there said, "You have a suit of armor on that is this thick energetically," and she said, "Do you want to take it off? Because it's protecting you, but it also means you can't allow love in, because it blocks both." So she removed it, and she put some protection back in. She didn't leave me completely isolated, but that initiated very quickly thereafter the start of my burnout or breakdown, or call it what you will. Probably within a month after that, that was it. And I was on my way to Leeds for a meeting with First Direct. I fell asleep in the HR director's office. And that was kind of the first thing I knew, that I was having a breakdown. I thought I was having a heart attack, actually. But actually it was pleurisy, water on the lung. And then I was completely vulnerable. I had no suit of armor. I was very affected by things people said, and I couldn't even talk about business, couldn't talk about work. I couldn't read a newspaper without the energy visibly running out of me. And then I'd have to go to bed for 3 days after. So I kept trying to go back to work, and then I'd have 3 days in bed. Did that about 5 times. And I was just like, okay, I've got to listen here. And the universe literally physically unplugged me from the matrix and said, it's time to change. And that's when I went inside, and I was vulnerable and weak, and I didn't have that facade, the persona of the businessman to hide behind anymore, which I had definitely been hiding behind. And ever since then, I've just been rebuilding, working on myself and becoming the real me, and be able to be in those situations just as me and show up as me, and to realize that actually I'm good enough, and that's okay. It's been a long journey.
Long journey, and I'm so happy that you got to that point, and you've been showing up for yourself and for love. I love, I use the word love a lot, but I love, I wonder how that was to hear, if you did fully hear it at that time, that taking off that armor would allow love in. What was the body response like, with the sensorial kind of
yeah, if I'm honest, I had no idea what I was getting into.
Ah!
I'm not sure I would have done it if I had.
Yeah.
But retrospectively, I'm glad. And interestingly, probably I'm not religious per se, but one of the few times in my life I had said a prayer to that point was I said, I know that there's stuff I need to change, because I've been doing NLP, and that had opened a door to me. And I said, if there's any way I can get through this quicker, then bring it on.
Yeah.
Literally, then bolt of lightning. Okay, you're bedbound for 2 years. You can't do anything other than think and work on yourself. So yeah, that was pretty vulnerable.
Yeah. So 2 years, did I just
2
hear?
years I was off. Yeah.
Yeah, to be with yourself, find out who you were. That's the concept of authenticity. And what I talk about, meeting ourselves, and we actually, there are parts of ourselves that we don't like. I was just talking this morning about the concept of being like self-centered, and I would never have put those words to me, but there is a part of me that has been self-centered, and I'm recovering from that, and as I recover, it's really incredible, because then I let wonderful people like Emily in, and this conversation about accepting love, and as I'm accepting love, and understanding that people like me, very similar to your story, like I am enough, and it's kind of changing my life in leaps and bounds, through connection and connectivity and realness,
Yeah.
honesty, and that vulnerability.
Interesting also that self-centered has kind of the negative connotation, but actually we all need to be self-centered, because it all starts and ends with us, right? If you're not putting yourself first, you can't look after other people, and that's the wounded healer story. We're trying to fix everyone else and end up in a crying heap in the corner ourselves, because we haven't looked after ourselves.
Exactly.
And I just want to interject here about how how we've come together. But obviously, Adam and I have been in a relationship now for the last, wow, when was it? I mean, it's getting on for 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
So 18 years ago, I think I started working with you, and had it not been for your burnout, breakdown,
Whatever
enlightenment,
it was.
all of that. I knew after going to that Tony Robbins event that I wanted to retrain as a movement teacher. It was something that I felt strongly about, but I was living in fear then. I was living in fear of not enoughness. I was living in fear of lack. I was living in fear of, how am I going to ever afford to do this? And of course, your breakdown led to me being made redundant, which then have the funds to do the change and to retrain and to,
I didn't know that part of the story.
which has led me down this path. So I very much feel that there's these soul contracts that are going on between us all right now, and
Beautiful. Wow, I'm so pleased with that. Great.
And
It'd have been a lot better knowing that when we had to make you redundant.
oh, yes, it's a really interesting concept, that, isn't it? Because like the guilt that the leader may feel of making people redundant, to then the freedom that you've experienced. So it never is quite what our monkey brain kind of makes us think.
Whenever something is perceived as being jarring to our nervous system, or negative in some way, I'm very conscious now to ask myself the question, what does this mean for me? What am I learning here? The universe is trying to help me, it's not trying to hinder me. I've just got to be open to receiving whatever's coming in next, and that shift in perception, it's so helpful in the way that we live our lives.
So talking about shifts and shifts of perception. So after you came out of the 2 years, can you, obviously you're going into this time of powerful transformation, and with your voice and using your voice and sharing your story. What was the point? What was the turning point where you started to think that you wanted to help others? And this is another point actually for everybody. I think so many of us are so scared to ask for help. I did it as well, Adam. I pushed up that hill and I kept doing everything by myself, and I just became more and more isolated and less happy. So then when we're coming from our true self, we can really use our voice to implement change, and because it's authentic and the energy behind it is being received again with that fullness and that love. So can you think of a moment where you decided, okay, yeah, I'm going to use my voice now for change and for difference?
Yes. This sounds a bit more luxurious than it was, but I was at a meditation workshop in New York, of all places, and I don't do that every day. And I had a download whilst I was there about my life purpose, And what came through in very, very clearly in one single or a couple of sentences was to stand tall and proud in your light and to spread love around the world. And I was expecting something like Save the Galaxy, which everyone does. And I've been wanting to find my life purpose for quite a while, but it comes in bite-sized amounts typically, small enough that you'll get started and not be put off by the sheer scale and intensity of it. Okay, so from that, I knew pretty much straight away I needed to conquer my fear of public speaking, which was huge for me. And so I joined Toastmasters, and I showed up at Toastmasters every week for 9 months, 9 or 10 months. And I did a speech. I made myself stand up every time I went. Fear was palpable in the room. I don't know if you've ever been to one of those sort of events, but everyone's scared really, because that's why they're there. So the energy is ramped up. And I'd go there and first of all, an hour or two before I'd go every week, I'd have to clear my fear. Then I'd show up, I'd have to sit there and clear my fear. Then I'd do my speech, then I'd sit down, then I'd clear my overwhelm. And I did that for 9 months. And each time I got a bit more comfortable with it, cleared a bit more, got a bit better. And then eventually, I guess I finished Toastmasters, felt like I got what I needed to. And then I went and stood up on stage and started talking about my work and about healing and about the journey I'd been on. And that, I would say, was pivotal, because it helped me to realize, actually, I can do this. And I think it's foundational for anyone. I think you have to build those internal foundations. You have to face yourself, your fears, doubts, insecurities, and then you can get out there in the world and do something big, But it's a journey, it's incremental. It gets, you might speak in front of 5 people. You might do a podcast, you might do this, and then eventually you get to a bigger room. Then you get to a bigger room.
Yeah. Bigger reach, bigger audience. Wow. Thank you so much. And so I'm really intrigued about what it feels like in the body. And so obviously you've got a lot of adrenaline, which kind of leads to some dopamine and kind of, as you were going through all those nerves, and there was like 3 stages to that, it seems like, and then the overwhelm at the end. So just, I think, for words of encouragement to people who are thinking about, using their voice, but are in that position of, kind of, I want to swear here, like shitting a brick, the hands sweat, don't they? The hands sweat, the head sweats, you might get sweaty crutch as well. And then the throat starts getting tight. And then you're like, I've got a frog in my throat and I can't actually, and and everything gets tighter and the body's almost closing up.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? And there'll be a lot, and there's so much beneath that. It's the number one fear that most people have, more than dying. And actually, from helping people break through that, there's often so much around past lives. They might have been on trial, for life or death. They might have been standing before an audience and something bad had happened. There could be ancestral stuff. It's all sorts of stuff that will be beneath that. It's one of the most pivotal things you can heal. I really encourage all my clients to go and do it, actually, to go on a speaking journey, even if they have no intention of doing it, because it's so revealing.
Yes, I love that you've brought up, the ancestry lines and the past lives, and because I was working with somebody, a singer. She's a great voice, but she's like, it just gets to a point and something just cuts off. So we did some regression work, and we were back in Egypt, and she was on stage, and her voice was just being totally and utterly cut off at that point, and then we reclaimed it, and that's what I talk about, that reclamation of the voice. So you're right, we can heal down and back to past lives. And
for anyone who's thinking past lives, this has gone a bit woo-woo, a bit out there, I would have thought, when I knew you in recruitment days, Emily, I would have said the same. I'd laughed you out of the room, but then learning NLP, and I found NLP didn't always get people to the place I wanted it to. So then I learned these other healing techniques, and past lives is such a huge piece for so many people. And it makes such a difference. So whether you believe in it or not, it actually doesn't really matter. It could just be a figment of the imagination, but you'll have a visceral experience of it. But even if it is just the mind, it doesn't matter, because it will get you to where you need to go.
So interesting as you were talking about it, Adam. As soon as you started talking about ancestral healing and past life regression, my stomach, my intestines have been gurgling the whole time. So that's a real
That'd be
identity.
the Delhi belly.
Or that she's just about to have her soul activation with me in a couple of hours. So it's all starting to prepare and get ready for.
I don't think we were recording when we talked about the fact that I had Delhi belly. So.
No, Emily's just back from India.
But I'm all good now. No, I definitely feel as soon as that started happening, that was an identity. That was an identity piece because I've just trained last year in multiple brains integration techniques, which was actually created by NLP practitioners, and so it's about the language. It's about how the language affects our multiple
Huge.
brains. And so gut is all to do with it's all to do with our courage, our identity, how we take action, and talking about that it takes a lot of guts, doesn't it, to speak our truth.
Yes. And to show up as we are in the power of us, unedited, unfiltered, unapologetic, unrehearsed, unpolished, to be unforgettable. Because when we have this connection, when we stand up and we're ourselves, then that really resonates in somebody else's body, and that connects them into their emotion. Because a lot of people don't even know how to connect with their feelings.
Yeah.
And so this is what the power for me is in conversation, is in connection. Obviously singing is a part of it as well, but it's more about tone and toning, and the frequency that we receive from another person, and we know if our intuition knows if someone isn't telling the truth.
I read a fascinating thing yesterday. It said that authenticity has the highest emotional frequency, which I'd never heard before. Apparently, it's 4,000 times stronger than love, according to what I read. So then you start to think, well, actually, yeah. So when someone's being truly authentic, that's such a powerful thing, because there's always layers of mask that we wear, right? So if you strip that back and you're really who you say you are, that's where the real power is.
I love that. I love that. And it feels like this is a beautiful place to start to bring this conversation to a close. And this is just a taster of the power of us and Adam and what he is bringing to the world. I thank you, and I thank all parts of you, Adam, for going on your journey, because it's, as you said, if you'd have known that then, that maybe you wouldn't have, because we have to be really brave. It takes lots of guts. And also, I also feel, as we have the male energy and the female energy in all of us, but especially for a male showing up in this, in this time frame that we're in now in this world, it takes a lot, I know. And I don't know whether you've got any messaging around that as well, to help your fellow men in their vocal journey. And because I know people are sad inside, but they don't know how to let it out, or they may be in the same situation as you were. So any advice, words of love?
A few things. I would say, no matter where you are, what you've been through, or what you think is possible for you right now, you can absolutely get there. The key, from my experience, is to go inside and to start to face the parts of you that are scared, the parts of you that don't think it's possible, the parts of you that want to run away and hide, because they're in there. And it's not about toxic positivity. You can try that. You can get up and you can motivate yourself and go to the gym and do all those things. You can do those as well. But really, where the real magic is where you come into full alignment by dealing with the unconscious stuff. So that was the first point. And then the second thing I'd say is that the universe wants to help you. It always has your back. Even when awful things happen to me, I know that there's so much juice and healing and transformation in there if I just focus on it and work through what it brings up in me. It always takes me then to the next level. It's not hard when you're in it, and you might be swearing and cursing blindly, but actually the shift is really, really powerful. So just go for it. You just have to start. If you don't know how, if you've never done anything like this before, go and find a therapist, a counselor, a coach, a healer, and just take that first step. Or go to an event, a lovely event down in Kent, you know, or get you going.
2nd of May, yay to hear, to experience singing and sound, but also to experience motivational speakers that are soul-led, you know, like yourself, and coming from that genuine place of authenticity, which now, having said, you know, having what you've said to me, I know that it is vibration, that it is, you know, it's a very switched on, vibrant emotion for us to show up in our authenticity. And I love what you just said at the end there. It reminds me of, you know, when we're in victim mode, we think something's happening to us, but when we're in surrender mode, we actually allow it to move through us, and then we don't attach to it. So then we can get out of our own way and actually deal with, you know, deal with what's happening and get out of our own way, and get out of denial. So, Adam, this has been amazing. I can't wait to meet you now on the 22nd in person. Thank you so much for showing up as well, Emily. She only arrived 5 minutes before this interview.
Amazing.
Yeah, so Emily's here for a very, very different reason, which we will talk more about. We're just about to go in the studio together to record something that will also be performed on the 22nd. Adam, how can our audience find you? And if there's anything else you want to share about your work that's happening right now?
I'm on all social media channels. Website is adamtallamy.com, TALLAMY.com. And yeah, feel free to reach out, offer a free taster to anyone who's interested potentially in one-to-one coaching. I do group coaching programs. Next one is starting at the end of the summer. And I'm currently writing a book about manifestation called How to Manifest Like a Motherfucker, which due out in about 2 months' time. It's getting there. Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, thank you so much. And to everybody watching, thank you for journeying with us here and listening. If there's anything that has triggered you or opened up the love within you, please do message us and feedback to Adam as well. And if you do want to come to the event, it's going to be the first of many, a very special event in Tunbridge Wells, my hometown, then the details are all going to be in the description below. My name is Natalie.
I'm Emily.
This has been
Adam.
And together we come together to get vocal and to build up the power of unity and stream that out to the world with love. Lots of love. Bye-bye.